Breaking news. Vladimir Putin has given Keir Starmer a chilling ultimatum of 72 hours to respond or face consequences Downing Street refuses to disclose. And this morning, Westminster woke up gripped by real panic. An encrypted Kremlin transmission hit the Foreign Office just after sunrise. Officials expected the usual: routine complaints, sanction warnings, maybe a fresh espionage allegation. Instead, they received something far more severe, a message described by multiple senior government figures as direct, hostile, and deeply alarming. Within minutes, Whitehall went into emergency mode. Briefings on security stopped mid-sentence. Intelligence chiefs were pulled out of meetings. Military commanders were sent urgent alerts. And Starmer's government shifted into full crisis posture, the kind normally activated only during immediate threats on British soil. Before we go further, if you want real-time updates on this fast-moving confrontation, hit subscribe, because the next 72 hours could reshape UK-Russia relations completely. Here's what we know so far. According to leaked intelligence reports, Moscow accused the UK of crossing a red line, citing covert activity that Russia claims directly threatened its national security and regional stability. The Kremlin demanded an immediate reply, and those same leaks confirm that the demand came with a precise deadline: 72 hours. Downing Street refuses to declare a single word of the message. National security reasons was said so much today that it almost sounded less like a reason and more like a shield. Silence means more than words in every sense. And at the moment, the silence of the government speaks louder than any word spoken. When ministers dodge every direct question, when the Foreign Office won't clarify even basic facts, when every statement sounds pre-scripted and identical, the public asks the obvious question: what exactly is the UK government hiding? Speculation online exploded. News networks moved to rolling coverage, and every passing hour without an explanation just raised anger, suspicion, and uncertainty. Inside Parliament, pressure reached breaking point. Starmer stepped up to the dispatch box, controlled, calm, but visibly strained. He insisted Britain had acted fully within international law. He defended the intelligence services. He promised stability and strength. But MPs across the room didn't buy it. Conservative backbenchers insisted on complete openness. Reform UK accused the government of provoking a nuclear power with no strategy. Even the Labour loyalists exchanged uneasy glances, waiting for answers that never came. The Commons chamber was a pressure cooker, with raised voices, collapsing order, accusations flying in every direction. And one question drowned out all others: what precisely is written in that Kremlin message that Downing Street refuses to reveal? Starmer repeated the same rehearsed lines. When the session was done, MPs walked out even more suspicious than when they went in. Now we enter the darkest part of this story. A number of intelligence officials have confirmed that the Kremlin's message had a second hidden section. One, not just withheld from the public, but from most MPs. They spoke on condition of anonymity because of classification. According to these sources, Russia's demand goes much farther than espionage claims. It is specific, explosive, and highly dangerous. Moscow is reportedly demanding that Britain withdraw active support from a key Eastern European ally. If true, this is the kind of demand that could shatter Western unity overnight. It would break NATO's eastern line of defense. This would tell every nation in the region that British commitments can bend or break under pressure. And if this intelligence is accurate, Starmer now faces a brutal choice with no good outcomes. Give in, and Britain looks weak. Refuse, and Britain risks a direct confrontation with a nuclear state. A lose-lose situation, the type that every prime minister prays they never face. 1 week is all it may take to undo decades of military cooperation, intelligence sharing, and strategic alliances. The message this sends to the world is brutally simple: threaten the UK hard enough, and you can force its hand. But the alternative is just as dangerous. Refuse Moscow's demand, and Britain risks staring down a direct confrontation with a nuclear power. A state currently waging the largest European land war since 1945. A state that has time and again demonstrated its readiness to incur enormous economic, political, and military costs to achieve its strategic aims. There are no good choices here, only bad ones and worse ones. And inside Westminster, everyone knows exactly how treacherous the road ahead has become. Outside Parliament, the British public reacted with stunning rapidity. Within hours of the first reports, thousands of protesters surged onto Westminster Bridge. The crowd was electric, but divided, angry, and unpredictable. Some waved Union Jacks and called for strength, saying the UK must never buckle to any foreign threats. Others held signs that accused the government of secrecy, demanding transparency before decisions are made that could determine Britain's future. Police lines hardened, crowds swelled. The helicopters thundered above, their rotor blades slicing through the shouts below. News cameras captured it all. not performative outrage, but a country grappling with real fear, frustration, and uncertainty. By evening, protests had erupted across Manchester, Birmingham, and Edinburgh. The crisis was no longer confined to Westminster. It had engulfed the nation. Then came the moment that absolutely no one expected. Buckingham Palace broke its silence. A brief, stark statement was issued. His Majesty remains fully informed and deeply concerned about the evolving situation. For an institution as famously silent on political matters as the monarchy, even to say anything at all is rare. It is almost unheard of for the palace to comment during an international standoff. Constitutional experts immediately grasped the weight of it. This was a signal that the situation had moved far beyond routine politics, to a level where even the head of state felt compelled to intervene, however subtly. Royal correspondents reported seeing senior palace aides moving urgently throughout the afternoon, delivering back-to-back briefings to the king. No further comment was offered, but the implication was unmistakable. The crown is watching and expects this crisis to be handled with absolute seriousness. This was no longer just a government problem. It was a national one, and that reality hung over Westminster like a gathering storm. Across the Atlantic, Washington moved with astonishing speed. Within hours, the White House issued a formal statement condemning what U.S. officials called aggressive and destabilizing rhetoric from Moscow. The message expressed unwavering support for the UK, praised Britain's leadership, and reaffirmed what it labeled the unshakable alliance between the two nations. But America's rapid response raised a set of deeply uncomfortable questions. Why did the US speak before Downing Street had finalized its own position? But what exactly did Washington and London coordinate behind closed doors? And the most disturbing question of all, what does the United States know that the British public does not? According to sources in Washington, American intelligence agencies were tracking this crisis quietly days before the Kremlin transmission reached the Foreign Office. If true, it means the UK government had advance warning, yet still appeared blindsided by the political and public shockwave that followed. And the pace of America's response suggests that something even more ominous may be at work. This crisis does not stop at Britain's borders. Whatever Putin sent, whatever threat or demand was delivered, it rattled more than one Western capital. Then came the most astonishing moment of the entire day, and it didn't come from politicians, diplomats, or nameless insiders. It originated from the military. Speaking off the record to a small circle of defense journalists, one senior UK commander had given a blunt assessment which froze newsrooms up and down the country. This isn't rhetoric, this is strategic positioning. The UK must respond firmly and unmistakably, or we risk signaling vulnerability not just to Russia, but to every adversary watching. Minutes later, that quote would have blazed across every channel: TV tickers, radio bulletins, social feeds, breaking alerts. And in that moment, the tone of the national conversation shifted. Because when military leaders, the people who analyze threats without political spin and plan for worst-case scenarios, choose to speak out, even anonymously, it means one thing: the line has been crossed. This is no longer diplomatic performance, no longer political theater. This is real. The Ministry of Defense refused to comment, but the warning had already landed hard.